Okay. Um, all the labs as a group typically count a little more than one test. So it's one test plus. I believe the labs add up to 165 points. Each test is worth 100, something like that. Okay, the pre-lab is due at the beginning of the lab period. Now you can do it electronically if you have a tablet, but you have to hand write it on your tablet. Or you can purchase a lab book. I'm curious if they have any line. Does anyone have their lab book with them by any chance? Okay. This is what the lab packet looks like. What does it cost? Like $6 yeah. And right. And this is what I want you to purchase. Now, there are two versions of this. This is the inexpensive one. Pages are sewn in. You can also buy a leather-bound one for about $90. $1.50, $90. You're not going to get any extra points if you buy the leather-bound one. But I've had two people in my career spend a whole bunch of money on a lab book, leather-bound. It's cool. It's got these little ribbons. It's a bookmark. Pages are pre-numbered. It's a really nice document. However, you will not get any extra points whatsoever. Okay, so you have to buy one of those to start with. I think what do you think? $1.50, $2. They're very inexpensive. No 3-ring or wire-bound notebooks for lab. Okay, no matter what science class you take in this school or any school ever been taught in, you use anything but the comic books. Now, some of them have graph paper, and others have lines. It doesn't matter which one you get. Occasionally, you'll do a graph. Most of the time, you won't just be writing stuff down. Now, you can also do this electronically. At the end of the semester, I'm going to check your lab books in total. And basically, I'm going to look for is your table of contents, which is your first page. Is that complete? Are the pages numbered? Are there any loose pages? I'm going to go like this. If anything falls out, you're going to get dinged. And it's a very another easy grade for you. Most people get 15 out of 15. So you're going to be numbering your pages, and we're going to only be writing on. In a minute here, I'm going to show you some pictures of some lab books. We're going to only be writing on one side of the page, though, on the right side. The reason for that is depending on how expensive your lab notebook is. If you buy one from Walmart for $1.29, you'll get very thin pages. And depending on what pens you use, sometimes it bleeds through. So just write on one page. You have plenty of room in there. Okay. Begin each page on a new, you begin each lab on a new page. Don't just, because we have plenty of room. So all new labs will start on the right side, brand new page. You can number as you go on the pages, or you can just number them when you first get your lab book. And you cannot rip out any pages, period, no exceptions. And the reason why we're doing this, we're using a protocol similar to most labs, both professional and academic. You do not, any mistake you make, all pages have to be maintained. It's a big deal at universities. When you are in a graduate program, those notebooks you have to leave, they're the property of the department, not yours. And so they're real picky. Some departments are more picky than others. I was in the, my degree's in agricultural chemistry, and my department was not as picky as the chemistry department was. Chemistry department, you actually had to have all blank space had to have lines through it. It was so you couldn't add anything later. It was really, in my opinion, bizarrely strict. Okay. Indelible ink only. No pencils, no whiteout, no erasable pen. It has to be indelible. Yeah. What? I don't know. No one's ever asked me that before. So you can't erase it then. Oh, yeah, I know. Um,
What is it made?
I don't know.
It's not graphite. I don't know what it is, but.
It's probably some colored polymer or something like. Yeah. Indelible. It meets the requirement of indelible. And we're not going to call it pencils because it's not graphite. All right. So for your OC D folks, my second wife had OCD big time. That's why she's my ex-wife. I know a lot about OCD. And I know how you are. And I'm not judging, I'm just saying. So if you are, I want to put a neat line through your error. It has to be perfectly horizontal. And you do the correction either above or along the side. For everyone else, one line through it. I don't care if it's a diagonal line or whatever. Okay? I just need to be able to read your error. That's the deal. I have to be able to read everything in your book. Correct or not? And again, this is standard protocol. Now, if you're electronically doing it on a tablet and you're handwriting it, you can erase, obviously, but try not to. Just kind of follow the protocol as if it was a paper notebook. Now, we are going to be using chemicals, obviously, and very chemically tough, except for water and sand. For slag, for is salt and sand. And you know, sodium chloride is table salt. You know, to do that. Safety and first aid for it. Anything you can, food safety you can consume, don't worry about. Okay. Well, I don't believe in busy work at all. So when you're doing the first aid, and if two chemicals have the same first aid, don't copy it. Just put two chemicals at the top. Also, say we're three or four labs down the road, and you're using the same chemical from the first wet lab you did. Just say C lab 4. You don't have to redo it. I just want you to be exposed to first aid of all the chemicals we come across. Okay, so where do you get the first aid? You're going to be getting the first aid from a document called SDS. That stands for Safety Data Sheet. If you work anywhere that uses chemicals, by law, they have to supply you with a station, usually in their lunchroom or something like that. With the SDS is for all chemicals. If they don't, you have a wonderful lawsuit. And by law. Okay, so let me show you, there's a couple ways to get SDSs. There's an easy way and kind of a pain way. So we're going to pause this for a second. And the easiest way is just Google thing. Let's say we're using hydrochloric acid. So you're going to go SDS space hydrochloric acid. Now you're going to get a whole bunch of hits. You know, here we got almost got 280,000 hits, typical of search. The document is going to be a PDF file. And internationally, these are standardized. So any chemical in the modern world that makes chemicals for Western countries publicizes these SDS. And a lot of companies that don't publish the Western also follow. The shaky ones don't. If you're in a country, you know, it's just the way it is. So because of that, they've been standardized. That's the cool thing. Stick to the ones that are United States, so, but sometimes they use jargon that's specific to their country that you may not understand. Okay, so let's just choose one here. Okay, so on all SDS papers, section 4 is first aid. You get on to section 4, and there it is, first aid measures. That's what needs to be in your lab write-up. Now you can summarize this if you want, but you should have, if you inhale it, if you have skin contact, you ingest it, you have all those bases covered. And they all say, oh yeah, they all say consult a physician. You don't have to look that down. They all say it. That's, I mean, obviously visible. So, okay, we'll put it down for your OCD folks, that's fine. All right, now, if you are pregnant, trying to become pregnant, breastfeeding, or as a guy wanting to have a family, you need to go to section 11 and make sure that there's not anything that's a teratogen. Who knows what a teratogen is? Causes birth defects. Carcinogen causes cancer. And then we need to talk. If you're with a lab partner, you can kind of back off and have your lab partner do the touching of the chemicals. There are also gloves available there as well. All the stuff we do in Chem A is pretty safe. The higher you go in chemistry, for example, you get into organic chemistry, use a lot of wicked stuff. Extremely strong acids and oxidizing agents and reducing. Anyway, now teratogenicity is important. Who's heard of thalidomide? Okay, remember the tragedy of thalidomide? Birth defects. Yes, big time birth defects. Thalidomide was given to first trimester women for anti-nausea. Worked great, except the problem was there was a mirror image of that chemical, like left and right hand. Your left hand is not the same as your right hand. 5 fingers, 1 palm, 5 fingers, 1 palm, but they're not the same. And that's what thalidomide was. They were giving the mixture of the two. And the one that was it's called an enantiomer, the one that was a mirror image of the real one causes the birth defect. The children were born without arms and legs, mostly in Europe, but in this country as well. Horrible. Horrible. So anyway, section 11 talks about all that stuff, okay? And guys, it affects sperm as well, so keep that in mind. Okay, are there any questions about the first aid?
Write-up, you only have to do the section 4 for.
And that's part of the write-up, section 4. That's the first thing. Yeah. Unless you're. All right. Okay, so you're going to have a number of parts. You have a number of parts to this write-up. Okay, every lab requires a title. Every lab requires a purpose. First aid, if there's a non-food item. And a procedure. Now notice on this one, that person wrote on both sides of the paper how it's bleeding through. That's why we chose to write on one side only. The data, you need a data table usually. Sometimes it's supply, sometimes it's not. If it says record observation, you need a data table. Record the mass, data table. Record the volume, anything like that. The purpose of the data table is an organized way for you to put your data down. Sometimes the data tables have calculations in them. Frequently you do when you get later labs. Also, I want you to start putting zeros before the decimal point. Anything less than 1, 0 point. Now you don't have to add that. You get a calculation, but in your lab notebook, put it down. The reason for that is we always know that that number is less than 1. We work with water a ton in chemistry. If water splashes on your notebook, it's going to leave a little dot. And there's been some tragedies throughout our country on this, is that dosages have been off because water splashed on there and it added a decimal point. What shouldn't have been. Children have died at Swedish Hospital up in Seattle, a couple in Texas. So it's just a good habit of getting to. Okay, so here's the total. And I'm not going to ding you on or anything like that. I'll put a stat against it. No, I'm not going to ding you on. Just a really good habit. Numbers require units. Very few numbers in science have no units associated with it. So physics, chemistry, biology, engineering, they all need units. No bare numbers. You can put the unit up here, or you can put the unit by the number itself. Thank you, Joe. All right. We have a materials list as well. And again, all this is designed to help you organize your lab. I subbed for a couple people and they didn't have any kind of write-up for the students. The students didn't even know what lab they were doing until they walked in the lab. Then they had a little 2 or 3 pages where they wrote in some of the results of the lab. The students didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know why they were doing it. It was, anyway. All right. Another data table. Now you can do the data table as part of the pre-lab if you want. Now, so the lab is in 3 parts. There's the pre-lab, that's title, purpose, first aid, procedure. Doing the lab, that's the data table and collecting the data. And then the last part is answering post lab questions. That's after you finish the lab, and a conclusion. Every lab has a conclusion, regardless whether the write-up in your lab packet says write a conclusion. That's worth a third of the points. Now, I'm not asking for 12 pages in your conclusion. Just what did you learn in this lab? You know, good, careful. That's all. If you want to do a page, that's fine, but try to be as succinct as you can, unless you like to write. And by the way, there's a lot of writing. So I don't want to sound like your father, but don't wait till the last minute to do all the writing because your arm will hurt. Unless you're used to writing. So sometimes. Okay, so that's the write-up for the lab. There any questions about this? And remember, the pre-lab is due before you start the lab. You cannot do the lab unless the pre-lab is done. Oh, one other thing. You ever had lab from me before. You remember written a lab write-up like this before. So your first lab, lab 4 to be now, on a percent composition, you can fix anything you miss. And so all of you should get 15 out of 15 points if you want 15 out of 15 points. Sometimes people don't care what the grade is. I had a student a long time ago. He comes up to me and he goes, "What do I have to do?" Now up in Washington, they gave minuses. Pluses. What do I have to do to get a D- in this class? Because it's financial aid. As long as he passed the class, he got his financial aid, and that was his job. Financial aid. He could give away about anything. And then we had these students who really needed the money, were being denied for various reasons. And this jerk, I graded his test. Really hard. Good party. I admit it, but yeah, just okay. So anyway, so if you want to get 15 out of 15 on that first lab, there's no reason why you should. You should fix everything. After that, you get what you get. Okay? I want to help you do as well as you can in this life. My ego comes from you doing well. I'm not one of those professors that brag about how many students drop their class, or brag about how many students where the highest grade was a C. I'm not that at all. My ego comes from you guys doing well and learning the stuff. Because if you do well in this class, you'll have success in 1A, 2A, or 3A. Those can be very daunting classes, just FYI. Especially 1A. Of the three, 1A is the hardest. 3A and 3B, they take a year to complete a semester 1A class. That's what the 3 circuit is. 2A is for allied health. It's 2A and 2B. I teach 2B over at Sac City. It's the organic and biochemistry class. Anyway, the 2A, 3A, and particularly the 1A, it's real important to do well. Okay, any questions about the write-up? So you're not going to need one for a while. You have 2 weeks, basically. So, and I wanted to make sure, and this is being recorded. Okay, so I'm going to put this video as a separate video.